event is all about stone bead necklace of the Nagas, Nagaland, as a symbol of identity, and it is being talked about by Professor Manabu Koiso. He work as a Department of Tourism, School of International Communication, Kansai University of International Studies, Kobe, Japan. So I welcome Professor Manabu Koise. How are you? How are you, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I'm fine. So shall I start?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So actually, my outlook looks like Naga, but actually, unfortunately, I'm from Japan. So my name is Koiso, and the title of this talk will be "Stone Bead Necklace of the Nagas as a Symbol of Identity." And before that, I just want to say thank you to all these people who supported me for working on this subject. So just a brief introduction of myself. Actually, I studied archaeology in Japan as well as on Deccan College in Pune, both MA and PhD. And also I studied geography in Rikyo University in Tokyo. So during these my student days, I participated in excavations of the sites of Indus Civilization, which is about 4,500 years ago, in both India and Pakistan. And also after that, I carried out research on traditional manufacturing and use of bead made from semi-precious stones in Gujarat and Nagaland. So my talk will be on this subject, especially on bead and the use of bead also, especially in Nagaland. And this photograph on the left is the one I have taken in 1991, quite long back, when I attended the Padayatra, walking, and I walked all the way from Alandi to Pandharpur, which is very famous in Maharashtra, of course. So recently, in the last 20 or 30 years, there are a number of books published on Naga, which means that northeastern India, especially Nagaland, has been becoming very popular as well as very important as in means of academics and also as politics also. Of course, the Prime Minister Modi is saying that look east policy, so connecting India with Southeast Asia, but so in between those regions, Nagaland is placed. So in that sense, of course, it's one of the remote place in India, perhaps, but it is a crucial point connecting India with Southeast Asia and also with China. So this is the brief contents which I'll be talking about in 4 or 5 sections or chapters. So first, in the first chapter, I will just briefly talk about Indus Civilization, and in the rest of the chapters, I will talk about Nagaland. So carnelian beads of the Indus Civilization and the craftsmen of contemporary Gujarat. So as I said, I have been working in my basic subject was Indus Civilization when I was studying in India, and this section, the area which is shown here on the map is the place where the Indus civilization flourished. The area mostly lies in the modern Pakistan, as well as in Haryana and Gujarat regions of India, northwestern India. So some of the very important items from Indus civilization, and especially those beads, necklace. On the left, this terracotta figurine is wearing a very decorative necklaces, which are supposed to be the one on the center. This is actually this is the actual necklace found from one site in Indus Civilization, and this is the red portion is made from semi-precious stone, which is carnelian. And you can see some stump seals also, which are used for trading these beads. And actually, these carnelian beads are found only in particular places or locations, which are shown on the map just now. So one place is Ratanpur in Gujarat, and the other is Madak Bed, also in Gujarat. So these mines were used during Indus Civilization, and as well as today also. So today, it's a small town of Kambat in Gujarat. There are many people, many craftsmen working on this carnelian, making beads and other ornaments. So these are the mines from Ratanpur. And these are the craftsmen working on beads, especially of carnelian. So the photo in the center shows the finished beads, which are almost identical with the carnelian beads of the Indus Civilization, which means that, as I said, the mines for getting those raw stones has been used for at least for 4,500 years. And the technique of making beads has been also preserved up to today. So on the right shows the very traditional way of making the holes in the long carnelian beads. So this Mr. Paramar is working on the beads for making holes. It takes very long time because the carnelian stones are very hard stone. So this technique of making very very straight lines, straight holes into these long beads are very difficult. It cannot made by machines, because if you use machines, the stone just break. So the making holes, the technique has to be very delicate and very careful, which is only done by men, craftsmen. So this Mr. Anwar is the craftsman who are actually making beads. And from Kambat, I noticed that the export of these carnelian beads, almost 80% has been exported to Nagaland, the present Nagaland, and the rest are exported to Pakistan and also to Persian Gulf countries. So I was working on Indus Civilization. So since the Indus Civilization were using carnelian beads, I went to Kambat to study about how to make carnelian beads and how to mine those beads also, other stones also. And at that time, I came to know that at present, the finished beads has been exported to Nagaland. So this brought me to Nagaland to study about the use of those beads at present society. So this brings to chapter 2, the state of Nagaland and the Nagas. Actually, Nagas are the name given to ethnic groups in Nagaland. So this is, it is unlikely that it has connection with the Nagas of the Hindus, which is the symbol of snakes. This is another name given to special ethnic groups in the Nagaland. So the photograph behind is the Kohima, placed, situated on top of the hill, the state capital of Nagaland. And as you know, the Nagaland is one of the 7 sisters, so to say, of 7 northeastern states of India. It's bordering Myanmar and China. And of course, Nagaland is one of them. And in these regions, the population, the people are mostly Mongoloids, and culturally also, they're more of Southeast Asia, like Myanmar and Laos, etc. So this is place of Nagaland. So almost 90% of the region is high mountains and only 10% is flat plain. So those people are living in mountains. And also those Nagas are also living in some portion of Sagaing division of Myanmar. So at present, the population of Nagaland is about 2 million, and 90% of those population in Nagaland is the ethnic group of Nagas. So that's about 1.8 million. And there are some people also living in Myanmar and also in other northeastern states. So which brings to about 2 million Nagas in those regions. And also concerning their religion, at present, almost 100, 98% is Christian. And very few are traditional spirit worshippers. I will mention that later also. So this is the more detailed map of Nagaland and the regions around Nagaland also a little bit. And within Nagaland, there are many ethnic groups which goes under Nagas. Basically, those ethnic groups of Naga is divided into 3 groups, which is North, Central, and South. And in Nagaland, there are about 16 major Naga groups, but actually there are about 40 to 70 small groups within India and in India and Myanmar. So Kohima, the capital of Nagaland, is belongs to southern part of Nagaland, and also within the around Kohima, there's Angami Nagas, Chakaseng Nagas, Pochupuri Nagas, Mao Nagas, etc. And also some portion of Nagas are living in Manipur also around Imphal. So actually these are some photograph of those major Naga ethnic groups from North, Central, and South. So as you can see, the physical features you cannot differentiate, but only from the cultural attire, their dress also, and also their ornaments, especially the necklaces. Especially those on Angami and Chakasan Nagas, and also Ao Nagas on the left bottom. You can see red stone neck bead, which are carnelian. As I said, these are imported from Gujarat, and they are made by the present craftsmen. And especially those long beads, long carnelian beads, the technique, as I said, the technique of making these beads has been preserved since the time of Indus Civilization. About the word Naga itself, the word Naga, this is not an autonym but exonym, which means that Naga, the name Naga, has been given by the outsiders actually. I will read the sentences on the page. Naga is a name coined by outsiders to the people living in the mountains of the present Nagaland, of course. The indigenous people identified themselves usually by their respective village names. That was their tradition. But the outsiders coined the name Naga to all those people living in the present Nagaland. So as I said, there are around 70 ethnic groups of Naga, and they used to headhunt with each other in the olden days. So the villages are set on hill ridges for protection. And the villages are surrounded by the steep hills. And also you have to enter the wooden gates. So this is also the purpose of these wooden gates are for protection because of the custom of headhunting. As you can see, this is one drawing from one book, which shows that this skull has been taken from the enemy village, and some horns of the mitten cattle has been put on the skull as a trophy, and also as well as for token for source of power. So this was the traditional part of the traditional culture of Nagaland, those people of Naga. So these are some photographs of very typical village in southern part of Nagaland. So as I said, the villages are located on top of the ridge for protection, and also for getting more sunshine, of course. And you can see at the bottom, left bottom, at the bottom of the ridge, there are terraced fields for making rice and some vegetables. And on the right, you can see the gateways. Of course, now they are not being used, but this is part of their tradition, and this decorated gates itself are part of their culture still. Of course, they will not close these days. But and this drawing on the right, maybe you can identify, but these long horns, and at the bottom you can see two eyes of mitten. Actually, this is a mitten horn and mitten face. And one face in the middle is the skull, which are taken from the enemy. So briefly, I will mention about the historical background. So in ancient to pre-modern period, there are some written records by the mainland people mentioning about the people living in the mountains of northeast regions, which are now the present Nagaland. And only after 19th century, during the colonial period, when the British came, they have recorded the people who are living in those people in these regions, and they have put the name Naga. And also there are those the British and also Americans and also Italian the Christians came for preaching the Christianity in those regions, and this has started the conversion of those people to Christianity. So by the time of World War II, most of the people has been converted to Christianity. And of course, during the World War II, this place, especially Kohima and also Impal of the Manipur state, is known for the Battle of Impal and also for Battle of Kohima, the big battle which was fought between the British and the Japanese. And especially in 1950s and 60s, there was a struggle for independence by these people against the central government of India. And it was very nasty war, actually. And many people died. But they couldn't get the independence, but they have gained statehood in 1963. And this is the present state of Nagaland. And in the most recent period, in the last 20 to 30 years, I have written here that there's a birth of a new identity, which means that there's a coexistence of Christians and also the ancestral spirit worshippers, the original traditional worshippers. And this is partially this is a result of the promotion of tourism and also regional development. And this Hornbill Festival, which is organized by the state government of Nagaland is this is partial result of getting this coexistence of Christians and of the ancestral spirit worshippers. So this is a very new festival, Hornbill Festival, which is yearly carried out for 10 days in December. And all the major 16 Naga groups are attending this festival and performing their respective traditional dance, etc. at the Kisama village near Kohima. The dance itself is very traditional, but gathering of 16 groups in one place, this is very new. This is very recent, because as I said, all those groups were headhunting each other. So actually they were enemies. So they never gathered in one place in peace. But this Hornbill Festival have changed such tradition, and now they gather in one place and carry out one festival in one place. So I think this is one reason of for getting the closeness of each other and making the identity of Naga as one entire people. And also in 2011, before that, there was a unit. Anyone who wants to visit Nagaland, it was necessary to get permission from the central government. But now, since after 2011, such permission was cancelled. So now anyone can go into Nagaland and travel very freely. So this has also changed the identity of the people of Nagas. So the historical background, the religious background, and also this new festival, etc. They all reinforced the identity of one Naga and respective traditional culture, specifically dress and ornament, as you can see in the picture. But on the other hand, however, as I mentioned, 98.8% of the Nagas are Christian. So this conversion to Christianity is rather recent trend, especially in the last 50 years or in the last 100 to 150 years. So in that sense, Christianity is not very, a tradition of its own. It has come from outside. But those, well, I will read. Strictly speaking, the dress and ornaments are derived from, this is traditional ancestor and spirit worship of pre-Christian period. But they still wear those dress and ornaments as a tradition handed down from pre-Christian period. But now, as you can see, almost 100% of the people are Christians. So actually there are two identities, you can say. So this picture shows one portion of original pre-Christian traditional Naga culture. So that originally all the Nagas were spirit worshippers before the pre-Christian period. So they were nature worship. They were nature worshippers. And this ghost stone is one of the example of such spirit worship, nature worship. And also they were worshiping all the aspect of nature in general. Sorry, I will go back. So as I said, 98.8% of the Nagas are Christian at present, and the rest of the 1.99% are Naga Hindus and Naga Muslims, very, very less in number, but much more less number, which becomes 0.0002%. And according to the census of India, only 404 individuals are preserving the original traditional spirit worship. So I'll mention about the ornaments of, especially of Angami Nagas of Konoma and Kohima region. So most of the people of Angami Nagas wear carnelian necklace, very simple ones on the left, both men and women. So as you can see, usually men wear one line necklace, which is called Zeda in local language, Angami Naga. And the ladies wear 2 strands of necklaces. This is for everyday use. And in case of formal use, especially for festivals, etc., on the right photo, they wear more elaborate and of course very traditional necklaces, which are called chadia for men and tsubi for women. And there, of course, the dress is also very traditional, very formal dress. These necklaces are almost, the majority of the necklaces are inherited from either of grandparents, either of grandparents, which means grandfather or grandmother, or perhaps either of parents, which means father or mother, father or mother. This is the most usual case. So it is inherited. Usually at the time of birth, puberty or marriage, or at the time of death of grandparents and parents. And sometimes they're handed down as a gift from either grandparents or parents. So perhaps they are newly bought, and then given to oneself from their grandparents or parents. But in case of inheritance or as for gift, there's no particular ritual or there's no particular ritual for inheritance of gifts. They're just simply inherited or just given as gifts. And the third way of possessing these necklaces are just simply purchased personally. And this is more recent practice. So traditionally, they're inherited or they are given as gifts. So in that sense, of course, they're very important, although there's no ritual as such. And if you ask the people for, wearing those necklaces, the purpose of wearing these necklaces is purely for decoration. One lady answered during the interview. And the other answer was symbol of love of mother who has given me this necklace. And some people answered that these necklaces are protection from evil spirits for leading a happy life. So this indicates that traditionally, the purpose of those necklaces had some meaning as protection or for amulets. And other people say that the red color itself symbolizes blood and life. So that is important for wearing those necklaces. So if you hear these answers, you think about evil eye, the nozzle, which is famous, which is very popular in South Asian countries. And those all men, all people in Nagaland know that there are nozzle tradition, nozzle culture in South Asia, but there's no such belief in Nagaland, at least in present. So the belief of those necklaces is very little different from the mainland of South Asia or India. But at the same time, they do have some, they must have some meaning of protection or or amulets in previous times. So I will talk about the festivals, especially about the Sekrani festival, which is one of the most important festival of Angami Nagas. And of course, this is the very traditional culture, which is preserved since pre-Christian period. So this Sekrani festival is carried out 5 to 10 days, starting from 25th of month of Kezei. Well, this is 1 month, which is based on Angami Naga lunisolar calendar, just like Hindu calendar, which comes under around February on the Gregorian calendar. So for Angami Nagas, the Sekrani festival is the beginning of a new year. So naturally, this is very important. And also this original purpose or the original meaning of the Sekrani festival is the purification of men, I mean the people, as well as the entire village. So especially day one, they are very important rituals, but nowadays these rituals are carried out only by the men of the spirit worshippers, which I mentioned that there is only 400 or so people in entire Nagaland. So these are serious purification rituals. And after that, day 2 to day 5, these are carried out mainly by the Christians nowadays. Of course, these are, the thing that the dance, actually I will read just first, I will read. Boys and girls collect wild plants and seeds in the jungle used to make replica of necklaces to hang on the wall of age group house. This is one of the traditional house in the village. And therefore, the procession with dances and songs. And they decorate the age group house with replica of necklaces, etc. So the practices they do for day 2 to day 5, these are also important, and these are also very traditional practices, but nowadays they're carried out mainly by the Christians. So this entire Sekrani festival is very traditional, very original festival of the Angami Nagas, but only the day one rituals are only done by the spirit worshippers, which are, as I said, there's only few in one village. There's only about sometimes 4 or 5 worshippers only, and the rest are of course Christians. And the most important, this ritual of purification of day 1 is only done by the spirit worshippers. So these are the photograph of the day 1 rituals, which is done only by the spirit worshippers. And of course, this man on the photograph is the spirit worshippers, but very traditional belief or the religion of the Angami Nagas. So they collect water very early in the morning of day 1, and they bring back water to their house for making the cooking afterwards. And they make fire from brushing the wood. They will not use matches or something. They just use wood in traditional way and make fire. And also they kill chicken, and they will cook this chicken and eat among men only. So this fetching of water is used for cooking for the first day the meal, which is only eaten by the members. And also this water is used for the purification of the village also. So this is the most important, as I said, this is the most important ritual for the first day. Purification using water from the spring near the village. Symbolically, of course, this purifies the village itself. And since this Synchrony festival starts the new year, it purifies the new year also. So in that sense, this ritual is very important. But however, this is done only by the spirit worshippers nowadays. So after day 2 up to day 5, these are the dance and songs carried out by the Christians of the same village, actually. So they never nowadays do the first day ritual, the purification ritual, but they do carry out the traditional songs and dance of the festival. And day 5 is the decoration of the age group house. There's a photo of the age group house. So inside they decorate one wall with a huge replica of necklace using the jungle plants. So again, this is also done by Christians, although this is very traditional part of the culture, part of the festival. So based on those things I have mentioned just now, I will just conclude with the identity of the people. So these are the ladies from Konoha village. And of course, the majority are Christians, but this lady on the from the second lady from the left is a spirit worshipper. And this Konoha village is having a population about 2,000 or so. And among that, there's only about 5 or 6 spirit worshippers. The rest are all Christians. But between those Christians and spirit worshippers, there's no conflict. They're just friends and just usual villagers. But many people, including those ladies of the middle-aged people, and also the young generation, which are those are children of these ladies also, they have converted to Christians. For example, this the children of this spirit worshipper of this lady, second from left, the children of this lady have converted to Christianity based on their own thinking. So the mother, this lady, is the traditional spirit worshipper, but her children, they're both Christians. So these things happen nowadays. But there's no conflict as such within villages or within the family. So this is the life of Nagaland, of the Naga people. So this is the, I have mentioned earlier. within entire Nagaland, it's only about 0.0002%, 404 individuals within Nagaland, which preserves spirit worship. So this second lady from the left is one of those 404 of entire Nagaland. So the Sekuni festival I've mentioned, the ritualistic aspect of the festival is only sustained by the spirit worshippers. The festival strengthens an identity as Angami Naga, as well as the identity as Naga, a combination of respective ethnic Naga group, which symbolizes unity and diversity. But the Sekuni festival nowadays is just a combination of both the traditional Naga culture, at the same time, the Christian Naga culture nowadays. So as I mentioned on the photograph on the left, this is only done by the spirit worshippers, which are non-Christian. But this getting water from the spirit, from the spring, is very important aspect of the Sekuni festival, but only done by the non-Christian or the traditional Naga spirit worshipper. And I think because of this water, which is used for purification of the village, and of course all the people of attending this festival, it is just like ablution. And this ablution means that it is just like when you're getting into Christianity, when you are converting to Christianity, you have to get abused. You have to get water for ablution at the chapel and church. So in that sense, I think the Christian church itself does not, they don't like this purification ceremony of the Sekuni festival. In that sense, there seems to be conflict between those traditional spirit worshippers and the church itself. And this festival on this photograph on the right shows the pastor at the opening ceremony of Sekuni festival at one village. So this shows that the church itself wants to organize the festival as the Christian festival, although this is very traditional festival of the Nagas. But the church cannot just eliminate the festival because this is very traditional, very important festival of Nagas. And of course, this is basically pre-Christian traditional festival, but the church has to admit that this is the present important festival of the Nagas. So for admitting it, the church wants to have the Sekuni festival as a Christian festival nowadays. But for admitting this festival as a Christian festival, the church does not want the first day purification ritual, which are using water, just like ablution when you're converting into Christianity. So in that sense, there's a conflict between the original traditional spirit worshippers of the Nagas and the church itself. So this is the situation of the present Nagas or the Nagaland. So there's three groups in present Nagaland. even though there's only 0.002%, there's spirit worshippers, which are very important for preserving the original festival. And of course, the majority are Christians, 98.8%. And the third group is the church itself. So the relations, the respective relations, Christians, the majority people, and the minority, the spirit worshippers, they go hand in hand. The Christians and the spirit worshippers, there's no conflict. And of course, those Christians and the church itself, there's no conflict also. They just go hand in peace. But the conflict is, the conflict lies between the spirit worshippers and the church itself. So this is the present situation of Nagas or the Nagaland, which started in the last 50 or 100 years ago. So I have mentioned about Synchrony Festival, but not only this festival, but the entire culture of Nagas. Of course, they have been preserved in the original way in sometimes, but they are put within the world of Christianity. The church only admit to preserve the tradition if they come under the Christianity. So in that sense, the Christians of the Nagas, the Christian Nagas, of course, they admit what the church says. But the church does not admit the spirit worshippers, which are actually preserving the original important part of the rituals and festivals. So as I said, there's only about 400 or so in entire Nagaland. And finally, I think this 400 will become zero in the quite near future. So when that happens, the original culture of the Nagas will diminish. And only the Christian Naga tradition, the very recent type of culture, will remain. So now, at this moment, I am, and we are all just witnessing the last portion of the Naga culture and also the Naga religion. So unless we preserve and record what is happening at this moment in Nagaland, the culture will diminish, and only the Christian festival, the festival which has become under Christianity, will be preserved in the future. So this is the end of my talk. So I hope you could pick up the points which I wanted to mention about about preserving the traditional culture, and also at the same time preserving the new trend of Christian culture in Nagaland, and of course the people of Nagas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Manabu Koiso, for letting the world know about Nagaland, its beauty, its tradition, ritual. Thank you so much for the presentation.